Hi everyone, it's Amanda. It's the 15th of February 2018 and I've been asked to do a video this morning by quite a few of you, woken up to quite a few messages relating to the latest gun atrocity, gun crime in USA, because that's what I'm going to call it, gun crime. I tried to make this video a few moments ago, but there was a lot of noise in my house and phones going off, so I'm redoing it. But it was interesting because my husband just mentioned to me in the break, as it were, that he had been watching the news last night as it came in, and I think it was one of the BBC commentators was saying it's the 18th shooting, school shooting, college shooting in America since the start of this year. That is appalling. That is horrific. The 18th college shooting since the start of 2018 is February the 15th. We're not even halfway through, well, we are actually, we're halfway through the second month of the year. Right, first thing to say, this video is going to be made with love. I'm going to be channeling Archangel Metatron. Archangel Zadkiel is also here, and Archangel Michael, but we're going to be talking tough. And those of you that may be switching on this video because you've seen the words gun control in the title, I don't even know if I'm putting that in the title, but it's going to be pretty obvious what it's about. If that is going to trigger you, and think about the word trigger, please just switch off. You know, there's no point writing a load of poisonous comments below this video. A, I am not going to read them. B, I will delete them if they're really offensive. And C, there are plenty of other forums for you to go onto and to share with like-minded people. If you want to keep your guns, if you want to hold on to your guns, if you want to die with your guns, this is not the channel for you. And this is a channel which talks about angels, celestial light, healing, and the ascension path, which is basically about trying to evolve to a higher level of consciousness in our lifetime and for future generations on this planet. And there is no place for a gun within that path. And I said that, I think it was the 11/11 Gateway video that I did, and I know there was some channeling that came through which struck a chord with a few of you, where it was Metatron probably who said, you know, and P.S., you don't need a gun to go through the gateway with you. You know, it's like drop the gun. And so this is almost like a follow-on from that. I wasn't going to make a video because, to be perfectly honest with you, I saw the news come in last night and it didn't actually register as anything particularly different. And that is horrific in itself, but let me explain that. Because we are just so used to hearing about these shootings coming out of the USA. And the answer is pretty clear in terms of what needs to happen, which is you need to get rid of your guns. But nobody wants to listen to that message. And these atrocities will continue in some shape or form until society wakes up to that fact. It's the honest truth. The angels are not putting a gun into anybody's hands. The angels are not pulling the trigger. The angels are not making it easy for people to access these weapons of destruction. The angels are not asking anybody to purchase one. The angels are not asking anybody to keep one underneath your bed. The angels are not telling you that you need a gun for protection. The angels stand and weep, basically. The angels stand and weep. And they comfort those that have died. And they are with those who are mourning. And at this point, let's just light a candle for the latest, and I hate to say the latest, but that is the truth, the latest load of people that have been killed. 17, I believe, last night on Valentine's Day. Well, it was nighttime here in the UK. I guess it was daytime in the US when it happened. Maybe that number will increase. But that school and that event has been replicated 18 times since the start of this year. Something has to give and things have to change. And countries have to evolve. All countries have to evolve. I was trying to think of analogies around the world of things that have been cultural norms within a country which has had a very polarized views, but change has been able to be brought in. Sometimes kicking and screaming, the change has been brought in, but you can see that cultural patterning and beliefs that have been held for hundreds and hundreds of years have been able to be transformed. And so to those of you in the USA who are hurting right now and who feel like it's never going to happen, it's never going to change, people are never going to drop their guns, I say to you that in the future they will. And I can feel straight away the rage of some people by me saying that. It might not be this year, it might not be in 10 years, it might not even be in your lifetime. But I promise you this, that the ascension path of all countries and the ascension path of this earth doesn't need you to hold your own personal gun. We'll come back to that in a moment. I was trying to think of an analogy to come up with to just help you realise that change can happen at a cultural level. And I'm thinking about one from the UK, because it's where I come from. So in the UK, it's another very contentious subject with people with very opposing views. In the UK, for hundreds and hundreds of years, a section of our society have hunted. And certainly over many hundreds of years, it was bound up with aristocracy and class and royalty. If you look at the shows, there's a wonderful show with Jonathan Rhys-Miller who plays Henry VIII, and there are many portrayals of him going off hunting, and it looks quite impressive, and they're all riding out on these horses, but actually what they're doing is horrible. They're hunting live animals, and to this day, even within our royal family, that still goes on. But there was a bill that went through, I can't remember how many years ago, where basically it repealed it. So you are now no longer allowed to hunt with a live animal as bait. Interestingly enough, the present government tried to bring that back in, or it was going to be back on the statute book to present to Parliament, but it's been withdrawn again. And I only raise it, not because I'm trying to add another controversial subject. It's because there were two opposing belief systems within our culture. One was, it is my right to hunt. It's what I've always done. It's what my parents did, what my grandparents did. It's what my village does. It's what the country does. And on the other side was a very vocal, became a majority, which was like, you can't do that anymore. This is outdated, it's barbaric, it has no place in a civilized society. It's interesting I'm talking about hunting, because I realise that's probably going to trigger people in the States as well. But hey ho, that's the analogy I've been given. Metatron knows what he's doing. This is going to be a tough talking video. The point is that change has come into the UK. But it will take a few generations to really bed in and settle down. We've also had shootings in schools in the UK before. The most infamous was one which happened in, I'm just looking at my computer, happened in 1996 in a village in Scotland called Dunblane, where 16 children were killed and one teacher. And what happened after that, because we don't have these things happening every week in our culture, it was fortunately something that was very unusual. And after that, there were gun control laws that were brought in, and it became much more difficult to purchase a gun, greatly restricted the use of private ownership of firearms. Is violence still here on the streets of the UK? Yes, of course it is. Is knife culture rife? Yes, probably. I'm sure it is in many places. Have I ever had a gun thrust into my face? No. Do I ever expect that to happen? No. Do I know anybody who owns a gun? No. Will I ever probably come into contact with anybody who owns a gun? It's pretty unlikely. Change came because of one event, and that's just the UK. If you look at the USA and you look at the number of guns per 100 of the population, it's in a different stratosphere from the rest of the world. The next country, I'm looking at my computer, the next country that comes anywhere close, but it's still far reduced, is Yemen, followed by Switzerland, funnily enough, Finland, Serbia, Cyprus, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Uruguay and Sweden. But they're on a different scale. The USA is just up there on its own. And yes, it is built into your constitution. And yes, it is your right to bear arms. We've all heard the arguments. We're all bored of the arguments. Somebody wrote on my Facebook page today when I said I was going to make this video, and I so agree with it, which is, what about the sanctity of life? What is more important, your right to bear arms as a country, or the right for children to go into school without the fear that they're going to be shot down? And the madness has escalated to a point now whereby teachers are wanting to arm themselves in case that happens. There was a shooting in church, wasn't there, last year in the USA, where I just watched in disbelief. Pastors were standing up saying, it's okay, bring your guns to church. And I've got Christ here right now, and he's reminded me of that passage in the Bible where he overturned the tables of the moneylenders in the church for desecrating a holy space, which should have been a place of prayer and peace and love, with money. Ka-ching. We don't have to imagine very much what his response would be to people sitting in the pews, listening to God's words of love, with a gun in their pocket. I'm preaching to the converted here. Most of you, I know, agree with what I'm saying. But I've been asked to do this video today, and I thought, oh, okay, all right. And I'm honouring the fact that you're hurting, and I'm honouring the fact that as a country there is a desperate, desperate need for change. But you know, if you go into your heart space, you know what the answer is. And it's so easy to blame the shooter. It's so easy to maybe blame the gun lobby. It's so easy to maybe blame the people in power who do nothing. But they're only representative of what the wider consciousness is. The wider consciousness makes it easy for somebody who is troubled and immature to be able to get hold of a gun. I reiterate, the angels didn't give them the gun. It was there to pick up. Why young people? Why schools? I think, again, if you really search into your hearts, you know the answer to that as well. No one has been listening. no one has been wanting to change. No one has been wanting to let go of tradition, of what we've always done, what my parents used to do, what my grandparents used to do. What is the norm? And so unfortunately, in a 2018 year in particular, which is a year which is an 11 numerology energy, it's about the dark and the light. And on Valentine's Day, which whether you like it or not, you know, take away the commercialized aspect of it, effectively it's about love, it's about the light vibration. We had something very dark come in. Murder, massacre, innocence betrayed. Because the truth is, on a day such as Valentine's Day, it's a horrible thing to say, but it's true, that the evil deed is more noticeable. We take more notice of it. We also take more notice of it because it's young people and it's children, not realising that every life of anybody that's killed is equally valid. I heard the phrase in my head, Valentine's Day massacre, when I was making the Archangel Metatron video for Valentine's Day a couple of days ago. Do you remember there was that part in the video right at the end where Metatron was sort of butting in? And I sort of looked around and I said, you know, butt out basically. You know, this is Shamuel's video. And it was only a fleeting phrase that entered my head, but I did hear Valentine's Day massacre. And I didn't look into it because I actually thought it was a historical reference. And I also believe that probably in hindsight, we couldn't prevent this. It had already been set in motion because it was about this. I'm going to show you a picture. This picture is from the Archangel Metatron Oracle deck that I have produced and will be on sale hopefully later this year. And this is the wake up call image. And it shows Archangel Metatron set against a stormy sky, lightning, and he's sounding a call. And it's a warning call, really. And I don't know whether you can see, but he's really trying, he's blowing quite hard into that. He's really trying to get his message out that change is needed, here as an example, set against wild conditions. You know, who's listening? Who's actually picking up on what is being said here? Somebody asked this morning, well, what part did the angels play in this? Where were the angels? The angels have been screaming for years with regard to peace, love, compassion for our fellow man. How does any of that fit with holding a gun? I was reminded of the work of Dr. Masaru Emoto as I came to make this video today. And Dr. Masaru Emoto wrote the book Messages from Water. And here's one of his pictures of crystals, okay? And this is the one actually which is about love for humanity. So that's his picture of the crystal that formed in water when you exposed it to the energy of love for humanity. And actually within his oracle deck, he doesn't have pictures of the crystals that aren't nice. I understand why he did that, because he did also picture and create crystals that were exposed to, let me do it now, water, that into which you put the vibration of hate, evil, and when frozen, The crystals in that water look nothing like that. They are distorted. If I put the word gun into that water now, and if he were here, bless him, he's departed, but if he were here now and he did the same experiment with gun, I guarantee it would create a distorted, unpleasant energy. I'm not going to drink that water, by the way. That'll be flushed away. The whole energy of the gun is lower energy. It's about fear. Oh, but I need my gun to protect myself. No, you don't. What do you believe in? Those of us on a spiritual path, this is the year where it gets real. This is the year where truth kicks in. What do you believe in? It's a bit like life and death itself. Because I've been right up close with death and seeing somebody die recently, and the whole grief process of people close to that person. Somebody said to me recently, my relative that died was religious, you know, she was a Christian. And so some of the people that came to see her as she died were Christian. And it's like, do you really believe what you believe? And they did. As if you really believe what you believe, i.e. that you're going to a better place, you believe in heaven, well, good for you. What I'm trying to say here is that if we believe in love and we believe in light and we believe that the angels are all present, then we have nothing to fear. You don't need a gun. So why didn't the angels protect the children that were killed yesterday? Yeah, that's a valid question to ask. And I've answered this before in other videos. And some people don't like the answer because it feels like it's too neat. Oh, it can't be about that. It can't be that simple. It is. You have to see the people that are killed in these awful wake-up calls, because that's what they are, trying to get society to change, as souls rather than people. You're looking at me now and you're seeing my hair and my top and you're listening to my voice and you're seeing a person, but I'm really a soul that's just masquerading in this body. This is the body that I've chosen to inhabit in this lifetime. This is what I wear. This is how I sound like. I'm from England. I'm the age I am, but I'm basically a soul. And they were souls. And the soul is never wrong. The soul knows absolutely what it's committed to in any one lifetime, and it knows what its mission is. You cannot understand it at lower 3D level. You have to understand it at a higher soul perspective. These were wise souls that came into their families, that community, that school, and they came together as a group, and absolutely they sacrificed their life so that people would take off the masks that blind them, take out the earplugs that don't want to listen, and speak up for change. What's it going to take? What it's going to take is enough people standing up and saying no more. And why then they haven't done up to this point in time is because of this energy. Now, Metatron wanted me to show you this card. This is the tarot card that links to the devil, okay? It's not a particularly pleasant card to look at, but it is what it is, okay? And the devil there is on top of this couple who represent society in this case. They represent you and me. They represent the community in America. They represent America. America is chained. The devil represents lower energy. The devil represents addictions, what we are enslaved to, what we are bound to. And what you are bound to is the gun and the power of the gun. And Hollywood has a lot to answer for in this. The glamorization of violence. I've got an analogy come into my head here, so I'm just going to say it, because I'm trying to lighten. It's such a heavy topic we're talking about, trying to lighten it. Do you remember, those of us of a certain age, in films and on TV, when smoking was more acceptable? You used to have the person who was really quite cool, you know, and he'd have the suit, or it would be a woman and she'd be very sophisticated. Think Audrey Hepburn, you know, with the cigarette, and it has a beautiful golden filter, didn't it? And she looked really beautiful with this cigarette. Except she didn't really. I mean, she did because she was beautiful, but you get my drift. There was the glamorization of the smoking. You know, you were cool, you were beautiful. Oh, how lovely. Roll forward a few generations, there's nothing beautiful about lung cancer. There's nothing beautiful about a tarred body. There's nothing beautiful about stinking nicotine breath, actually. And I'm not judging it. I've been a smoker in the past myself, by the way. Okay? No more. Not for very long, but I was for a period of time. So I'm not judging anybody. But now you never see that in films. You never see that. And in fact, because I'm bringing up youngsters, I'm not blind to the fact they won't experiment. I'm sure they will do. But genuinely, this younger generation, certainly in the UK, they're turning away from cigarettes and stuff like that. There's this thing to be healthy, you know? And I think it will be a bit like that with a gun in terms of how it's portrayed. I think the media has a lot to answer for. You know, go back even to the 1970s in this country, in the UK, and there was this glamorization of gun culture on TV. Programs like Minder and Starsky and Hutch, I'm showing my age now. They always had a gun, jumping out of a car. You know, here they are, ready for action, ready to tackle the baddie. Got my gun, pull it out. Hawaii 5-0, all of that. It all has to change. And we have to step into our divine power. And if you actually feel what it feels like, I'm talking here symbolically, I'm talking about in visualization or meditation. If you just imagine for one moment, in fact, let's just do this. I'm just going to bring Metatron in. And he wants to show you the difference between light and dark, the response. So let's just bring Metatron in. And I want you to imagine and visualize that you're standing. You got a gun in your hand. Okay, you got a gun in your hand. And there is a part of you, and it is your shadow side, and we all have it, that feels quite empowered by having this gun. Don't mess with me, you know? Don't mess with me. I've got this gun. I will use it if I have to. I feel strong. I feel emboldened. I feel powerful. Let the shadow really talk to you. Feel it. It's real. It's out there. You have it as much as the other person that you judge who's holding the gun. And then just drop it. Because you're actually standing in front of Metatron. And he's looking at the gun and he's looking at you. And he's realizing that the two energies do not tie up in any shape or form. Because he's looking you in the eye and he's seeing your true divinity and strength and brilliance. And you need nothing else, he's saying. Stand there in front of him now and feel into his strength. And then just feel and witness what his impression is of you. And he loves you, and he believes in you, and he is reminding you of your own divine, true self, walking a 5D path on a 5D planet that is becoming well, more than 5D actually. We're going up to 7, but that's a topic for another video. The gun, many other things are falling away because they belong to a different era, a different time, a different generation, a different mindset, a different reality, a different earth. That's what these beautiful children are trying to do. They're trying to wake us up to that. And yeah, it's a slaughter of the innocent. At one level, it is that. We can't get away from that. It is that. But I want you to see it. And I want you to maybe just not look at all 17, for example, that died yesterday. It'll destroy you. But there might be one child whose photograph you see in the paper that you just want to maybe link into. And if you really link into that child's energy, and ask Metatron if you have permission to do it, but I think you will have, you will be staggered by their spiritual maturity, wisdom, and light. It doesn't make it any easier in terms of grief. That's why we all need to comfort each other. We need to acknowledge the pain that comes up every time these things happen. But the answer is simple. The USA needs a new identity, is what I've written here. It needs a new identity, which is released from the bondage of the past, where because we've grown up and we've been able to have it, we're always going to have that. There is no country on earth, however great or however small they are, and there is no person on earth, however great or however small they are, who are not being asked right now to review and look at what they believe in, what their patterns are, what the old programs are, and we're being asked what serves you going into a fifth dimensional world, your world. Not just for your life, for however many years you've got left, for your children's lives and your grandchildren's lives and your great-grandchildren's lives. If you actually tuned in to your great-great-grandchildren's lives, they will be looking back. It's like an anathema. Like, why did you need that? Why did everyone have a gun underneath their bed? What was that all about? It'll be an anathema. You have to see it in relation to change, generational change. But, you know, I don't even know it's generational change, because I'm thinking of some of the other things that have changed in our world. You know, the advent of computers, the advent of the television. It's only a couple of generations. And you look back at a grandparent now or a great-grandparent, it's like, really? What, you remember the war? You remember when that used to happen? Everything changes. Everything's always in a state of change. These shootings are a part of that. And although they are tragic and we honour the souls that helped us to try to bring about this change, we also have to give strength, I'm hearing, to those in position of power to push this through. Because they are enslaved in the same way to what they think the people want, because that's what the people tell them they want, to the various lobbies that are out there that have power and money and put them where they are. The whole thing needs to collapse and change, and it will. What can you do in the short term? Let's bring Zadkiel in and let's bring Metatron in. Zadkiel first. Let's send the beautiful violet flame of light to all of the 18 schools in question in America that have had these atrocities this year. Transmutation, bringing the vibration of love, Zadkiel's wings wrapping around every single community, every family, every parent, every teacher, every pupil that has been affected. I will always be here to mop up, is what I'm hearing Zadkiel say. But it's us that creates the mess, not the archangels. Don't ever blame the archangels. They didn't give that guy the gun. Society did. And the only thing that stops that is society has to change, and it starts with us. Flame spray. Metatron. Archangel Metatron. Oh, he's reminding me that some people are so frightened of this change that's to come. He's got such compassion because God, I'm just tuning into this absolute, utter fear that some people have in letting go of the gun. Because without that, I'm vulnerable. Without that, there is chaos. Without that, and you're not, he's saying. These events are only happening because they're trying to bring the change. You have to speak up. Sorry, my battery went. Metatron was saying, I was linking into the compassion that Metatron was feeling for those that don't want to give up their guns through fear. And he's also asking us as a community to not go again into the polarity of resenting the ones who are blocking the change, but to try to understand that they are deeply, deeply fearful about what happens when they don't have their gun. Because the gun, remember what Metatron was just talking about, is this outdated symbol of power and protection, which you no longer need in a fifth dimensional society. So there's that as well. So to try to, again with Zadkiel, bring in forgiveness there is important. I was hearing as I took a break there, I was hearing the Grace Jones song, Slave to the Rhythm, that goes with this card, you know, that they are a slave to the rhythm that they've always known through life, but the rhythm can change. I'm also being told, because I want to wrap this video up so I can get it up on time, I'm also being told that very much like when the Dunblane killing happened in the UK, there is often a child or a couple of children that come out of that experience who will go on to try to help people to bring about the change that's needed. In Dunblane, actually, I don't know if you know this, but Andy Murray, who's one of our, well, he is, I think he's the UK's top tennis player. He survived that massacre. He and his brother were in the school at the time when it happened. And obviously he's gone on to achieve great things in sport. He's the top of his profession. But I'm hearing that some of these children linked into the 18 schools that have been affected in the early part of 2018, some of them are going to grow up to be real advocates of change. So don't think it's just the parents that are going to be doing this. We're going to be helped by the youngsters that are going to come through, a bit like the youngsters of the future who look back and think, what on earth were they doing? Why did they have that? Why was that part of their culture? You know, it's so much better now. You know, we feel so much freer without them. Some of these youngsters that have been affected are also going to bring about the radical change that's needed as well. So USA, all I can say to you is just hang on, okay? Have faith, have trust that it will come good in the long term. At the moment, it's very rocky, okay? It's very rocky. At a human level, I have deep compassion for what's going on in your country at the moment. I honour all of those brave souls who are trying to bring about change through the most painful way imaginable for their family by sacrificing their life. The angels are absolutely with you. They are supporting you. You can ask them to surround schools, but the point is that we come back to free will. We live in a world where there is free will, and at the moment you are making it easy for people to go out and get these weapons that can inflict so much damage. It won't stop everything, but it can reduce it significantly when this change is brought in, okay? And it will be. You've just got to hang on to that. Okay, I'm going to end it there because it's now 11:45 here. It's 11:44 actually. And I want to get this up, so hopefully it reaches USA and the people that need to hear it today on the 15th of February. Sending you lots of love. I know this isn't easy, but it can be done. Bye-bye for now.